Okay, recording. Okay, so this session today is mostly just to recap what some of you may have watched in the videos, also to highlight the important bits and to talk about your teaching practicals, which is your video assignment that you'll be sending through to me on the 4th of March next week. Okay, so you've got the whole weekend to really work quite extensively. It's not really a weekend off because, as you'll see, there's a lot of assignments and homework, and then also quite a lot of work that you guys will be doing for the post analysis and the teaching. So where this falls into the greater scheme of things, when you are finishing off your training, there are three major assignments. The one is your pose review that you do with Laura. The second one is your sequence. And the third one is your teaching practical, which is what we're going to talk about now. The pose analysis falls into the sequencing because we build on from that. All right, so I emailed you guys all this morning and you have all been allocated a sequence. So the forward bend sequence, it means you're teaching Warrior 3. If you got the back bend sequence, it means you're teaching Mermaid. If you got the arm balance, it means you're teaching Crow. So I hope you guys are all excited about your allocations. And just to keep in mind that even if it's a pose you struggle with, I'm not looking at your ability to do the pose. I'm looking at your ability to teach the pose. So this is already where we jump into your yoga teaching, which is what you guys are going to be doing. What I will say over and over and over again is that teaching is just practice. It is practice, practice, practice. And so I'm not expecting you guys to be perfect. I'm not expecting anyone to be perfect. It's just to see that you can stand up in front of someone or stand up in front of a group and present a sequence in a way that you're confident, you can use cues, you can get that message across, and your student can follow you. All right. So now that we've got our allocations out the way, over the course of the weekend, before you do your teaching practical, go watch video in the teaching section 1, 2, and 3. You don't need to watch, there's other stuff in there. Don't watch that. All that Catherine explains to you is what's important when you're teaching. A, be friendly, be a nice person, be welcoming, let your students feel welcome and calm. And then when it comes to the actual teaching skills, she'll go into things like the tone of voice, how we give cues, whether we should demonstrate or not, which we'll talk about a lot today, and also just some general tips that will help you in building confidence, in building your skills to stand up in front of a group. All right, so that will be really, it's quite a useful thing to watch, obviously, before you do your practical, and you can read through the section in the manual. I'm still going to tell you today what is the, if I can say, criteria that I'll be looking for in your practicals, and those will be the main 4 or 5 things that you will focus on when you teach your class. Okay. So any questions about your allocation? Any questions about that? So far, so good. Okay. I'm going to speak first about the teaching assignment or video, and then I'm going to talk to you about the technical aspects, because the technical side actually needs a lot more attention than any of the other thing. Okay. So you guys have got your sequence now. You are going to memorize it. That's point A. It should be something that's pretty ingrained in your body by now because you guys have done these sequences. So it shouldn't feel completely unfamiliar. They are the sequences you've been doing with Laura. And if you are still unsure about some of the transitions, some of the movements, you can refer back to the videos that are on the website. There's even a faster version there, just if you want to see the flow of things. Okay. So that's the sequences. If you look on your course overview, you will only teach one. Forget about the other 2. There's a little red part that says start teaching here. That's where you start. And there's a little part that says end teaching here, and that's where you end. So you're not teaching the full sequence. It's pretty much after the warm-up, and then when you get to the peak pose, you end. All right. If you want to do the warm-up with your student prior to the recording, that's completely up to you, but it's only a short section so that you're not sending a lengthy video. It will be quite short. Yes, Madly?
I'm now lost. Because now you're talking about Mermaid and Crow, but those are not the poses that we chose. So are we teaching? Oh,
Okay.
yeah, no, I'm lost.
Okay. Right. So,
I thought the pose that you choose is the pose that you're going to teach.
okay, the pose you chose is the one you're going to sequence for. You're not going to teach it. You're not going to do it. All I'm going to see is your sequence on paper. Okay.
Got you. Oh my word, yeah, no.
That's why they're completely separate. So some of you guys said to me, like, I chose handstand. Do I have to teach this that I'm going to? No, you don't have to teach.
Okay.
You don't have to do your sequence, so you really can run a bit wild with it. All right. So you might bring in things that are challenging, even if you wouldn't naturally do it yourself, or even if you know, it's the sequence is just your exercise of bringing in the creative peak pose sequencing and weaving the flow together. These sequences you're teaching are already peak pose sequencing, but we've done that for you. So you just need to memorize and teach it. Okay.
Okay, I get it.
Got you.
I'm with you now.
Page here. Otherwise, you guys are going to submit way too many things, and no. So those are the 3 sequences that are in your overview. Yes, Annalise, those are the ones you're going to teach. You're teaching one of the 3.
So what is happening on the 4th? Are we supposed to do, like, you want our sequence on paper or must we teach it on the 4th?
Okay. No, okay.
So I'm a little bit confused with that. Like, oh my word.
It's step by step, because I also just want to make sure everyone understands, because if I get the wrong assignment, you're going to have to do it again. Okay. Pose analysis and pose sequencing. Pose analysis comes to me on the 4th of March. All right. From that, we create a peak pose summary template, or a peak pose summary that you send to me via email or Word document. And then later on in the course, you make a full sequence on paper. You don't teach it. You don't do anything with it. It's just 3 pages of document, and you email it through to me, and that's it. Okay. That's just, you literally just creating a sequence. The teaching practical is a video submission of you teaching the sequence that I allocated to you guys this morning. Annalise, you're Warrior 3.
No. Oh, wait. Yes.
Yes, you
the
are.
Standing, yeah, then I was like, oh my word.
Did it alphabetical, so I kind of get where everyone is. Okay. So you're going to be teaching the Warrior.
I'm so nervous about this.
Okay, don't worry. This is I'm once again just here to ease your nerves and to tell you what is exactly expected. And I know exactly what you're going through. I also did my training, and I also had to do an exam. And so I understand I had to create my own sequence, which was also very nerve-wracking. Okay, so we all understand that the way in which the assignments are different. Okay, so start teaching here, end teaching here. It should be approximately 30 minutes. Okay, depending on the speed of your teaching, it might be a little bit faster if you teach really fast. It might be a little bit longer if you teach a bit slower. Okay, remember, these are vinyasa sequences, so you do kind of keep moving in it. So you are going to be talking quite a bit as you lead your student through the cues. So when you guys are going to have to call on friends, family, loved ones, husbands, wives, children. I wouldn't recommend children. It doesn't work, I promise. But you're going to call on someone who's going to be your student. Please reassure them that I'm not looking at them. I don't care whether they can do the pose or not. I don't care if they've never done yoga before. It does make it a bit harder. Well, not more harder, it does make it more challenging on you, because you need to teach them yoga while you're teaching the sequence. So if you know someone who has a minimal familiarity with yoga or more, it's definitely going to be easier, but it's not essential. I know that the people who may be doing your flow are not yoga practitioners. I'm taking that into account. I'm not expecting incredible, perfect postures. Of course, you guys know that. We're not expecting any pressure on them. In fact, I'm probably not going to look at them. All right. All I want to see is that you can stand in front of them and present the sequence. So let's go over some of the things that I'll be looking at. Aim for about 30 minutes. Okay. If you find you're teaching the sequence, especially in the week that you're going to be practicing here, when you're practicing it, a few ways is to record yourself. Clara, just one. If there's more than one, it's fine, but one is okay. So that's one person. She asked, how many people do I need to teach? Preferably 1, 2, 3. If it's completely impossible, you can't find anyone, you're in isolation or whatever the case may be, send me a message. Let's see what we can organize. But I think we should all be able to get one human. If not, let me know. So you if you find when you're practicing the sequence that specific section you're on 45, 50, 60 minutes, then work to pick up the pace slightly, just to kind of get it going. It is one of those things that the more you practice it, the easier it gets to teach at a familiar pace. All right, so it is about sitting down, learning the sequence and revising it. Some of the things I say to the students is to when you're driving in your car, is to teach and just talk out loud. Or when you're doing something, is to practice your cues, because the only way you get comfortable and familiar with it is with physically saying it and getting an idea of the time, because it's like learning a new skill. Annalise, did you still have a question? Your hand raised from earlier? No. Okay. Right. The date of the 30 minutes including, no, so it won't include a shavasana. You're going to end at the peak pose and then you're not going to do the cool down. All right, so your sequence will end with the peak pose and then let them take a shavasana because they'll want it. The date of the video submission is in your course overview. Remember, I told you guys it is also the 4th of March. I'm just double checking, triple checking. Yeah, 4th of March. Okay, that's next week Wednesday. That's why you have a whole weekend to practice it. Okay. All right, so it's okay, Madly, you're gonna be okay. I promise you.
I thought we were gonna have at least 2 weeks. No, it's good. I have my person already. I just need to tell her that you can't make weekend plans. We're gonna be videoing.
Yeah. So I think now is probably a good time that I just let you know, in previous trainings, everyone would do 2 videos. All right. So you would do the first one, I would give feedback, you would get the chance to work on it, and you would do another one. However, the second one was due on the same weekend of the pose reviews, on the same weekend of the sequences, and it was really, really a lot. So we found that most students are fine after one. Okay, so you have one teaching practical. All right, if it's fine, then you don't need to do a second one. In fact, I would really love if everyone just did one. So it's a lot of hard work now, but if it's not quite ready, there's a second opportunity, which I don't want us all to take, because we can save ourselves time and we can obviously save your guys' energy and focus by just doing it in one video. All right. So if you submit the first one and it's all good and I'm happy and it's fine, then that's the teaching practical done. Elaine?
Thanks, Jane. Sorry, so I'm also just looking at when the pose reviews are due. So that's not this weekend, hey?
So everything's on the schedule. You guys don't have anything this week live with us. You will see. So have a look on your schedules. There is a lot to do this weekend. So you're working on your pose analysis, you're working on the teaching, there's some philosophy videos to watch, and there's some Jenny Rawlings things to do. But you do have, I'm sorry, I'm just reading the chat there. You do have more than enough time there to cover, to watch all those things and to work on your pose analysis and your teaching practical. The pose analysis should be somewhat quicker to get through, and then spend your time on your teaching practical.
Yeah, you know what I feel like I'm really struggling with is I'm spending I feel like I'm spending a lot of time watching videos, and I feel like I'm just not spending enough time doing yoga. like, I mean, it's already Wednesday, like, so Monday and Tuesday's passed. I haven't done any yoga yet this week, and I just feel absolutely dreadful because, I mean, I doing the anatomy questions for Catherine, the anatomy 2, I don't know if anyone else felt that way. It took me hours, and, like, I work a full day, and it took me 2 full evenings to do it, and I just feel like I'm just not keeping up. And I'm like, okay, sure. It's like, oh my God, like teaching this class. What worries me is, okay, so I can focus all my attention on that now, but now it's the videos as well. And I'm just worried that I'm not improving my skills on the rest of all the other positions. I mean, I still, mention a pose and I still don't know the name, and I'm just panicking. I just feel like I'm just not keeping up.
Yeah, I think to give everyone context of it, a training like this that's 6 weeks, it's intensive. There's a lot of information to get through in a very short amount of time. And so, like I said, on the weekend, there's never pressure for it all to sink in now. I did a training last October, and the other day I thought, well, I get that, right? Things take time to steep and to settle in. And so that's why in the course overview, there's a takeaways. Those are the important things to grasp. You have access to the site for longer periods of time. So or a little bit after the course. So you want to get through the work that is going to be part of the assignments in order for you to pass. And then the learning doesn't stop there. So this is a lot of information coming in. And it's also, we're teaching you guys to be teachers. So sometimes the practicing takes a little bit of a step back while you learn the foundation and you learn the theory and you learn the teaching skills, and it comes back. I promise you, it will come full circle. And at the moment now, it feels like theory, while we're teaching everyone all the admin and the foundational things. And then you'll see at the end of the course, it doesn't feel like it now, but it's going to feel like everything comes full circle and we're going to wrap it up. We get into the nice styles, and this beginning part is the toughest and the trickiest, but it does link all together. So if you feel like you're not getting the time for it, which I understand, we all have work demands, we're all dealing with this and the yoga on the side, I would say to prioritize your assignment-based tasks. And even if you do get the moment to do a very short practice, in situations like this, where there's a lot of physical demands on the weekends like you've done, but there's also a lot of mental demands, shorter, more restorative practices can also be helpful. So even if you're not getting the chance to fit in a full 60-minute yoga class or a full 90-minute class, I'm a firm believer that 10 to 15 minutes of legs up against the wall is also going to do you wonders. So it is about just playing that balance for now, and it is temporary. Okay, if you're having major issues, you can chat to me directly and we can navigate it. But I also think that when we're doing these assignments, like I said, I'm not expecting you guys to stand up there and not make a fumble on your cues, or to not maybe forget something, because that still happens to me now. I have forgotten a left side. I've called, I used to go through a phase where I kept calling upward dog, halfway lift. I don't even know. And I did that for months. So there are little habits that we get into as teachers, little mistakes we make that will happen all the time. I just want to see that if you guys have that, if that happens, that you can navigate it and work through it, and even say, I picked up, I did this, next time I'm going to work on that a little bit, because teaching is not a thing that anyone masters in a month, well, 2 weeks if you guys have been on training, but it's not something you master in a year. You will only learn to grow in your teaching when you start teaching students. So managing the expectation of that will also, I hope, ease the anxiety a little bit. So if the videos, which videos are you speaking about particularly?
I mean, maybe it's just the way I'm designed, but like if I watch a video, I find myself falling asleep. So I just can't seem to concentrate, like rather give me something to read. I mean, I can read a book in 2 days, but give me a video and I'm unconscious in 10 minutes, and it's killing me. I'm just really struggling so much with the videos. I think what, I mean, if I could actually sit and watch videos one after the other, I'd get it done in the right time, but it's taking me maybe double, triple, quadruple the time. And then I'm worried that I'm just not getting the content because I just don't have that attention span for it.
No, I get that. And I think, Elaine, this is something I know everyone's struggling. I know it's all a lot. I know there's a lot of demands on you guys, but I can't say anything more than just do what you can and submit what you can. All right. That we obviously have a criteria that needs to be met. And if we're not meeting that, we've got time through the rest of the course in order to try and achieve that. Okay. So each one of us has so many different things going on at the moment. So I can't give a uniform advice to say, well, prioritize this and do this, because I don't know what you've done. I don't know what you've got in the day. But for this weekend, I would say a priority is to get through the teaching practical, because if it's not a pass on Wednesday, then you have to do another one, and that's going to be more time later on. So we've got now a variety of, we've got videos, we've got teaching practical. I promise if you get the opportunity on the weekend to have someone come over to your place or to meet with someone and to teach them, that's going to have a massive impact, because you're going to start already putting your teaching into motion. All right. You're already going to start to feed off their energy and integrate things into your practice. So set up your schedule so you're mixing up videos with pose analysis with teaching. Okay. And if you guys are having any other issues with that, just send us a message. I want to just get through all the technical things with the teaching, and then we can navigate that come the weekend, come the week. See how it goes. You know, you might surprise yourself. I think you guys will surprise yourself. Sorry, Belinda.
So I think Marley was first.
Oh, Madly. Oh, you're pointing this way. I'm like, chat.
No, you can go. I was saying you muted. No, Belinda, you go. It wasn't like aggressive. I was just like, I can't hear you.
I just actually want to ask, I was just somewhat quickly while we were talking, going through the teaching sequence, and just want to make sure they were, let's say scissor legs times 3. You have to repeat that for 3 times then. Okay. Yep. So do you then just, let's say, okay, take your left leg down and bring your right leg up. Take your right leg down and bring your left 3 times. So
yeah. Remember that your sequences are written very shorthand as if they're a sequence. So you do need to put some cues in there. So when you watch the videos, we need to tell our students where they need to put what. Okay. Step your right foot to the top of the mat, step your left foot to the top of the mat, forward fold. You can bring in breathing if you feel comfortable with it. If that's not fully in your process right now, don't be hard on yourself. Breathing is also something that comes with time, but you need to be instructor student where they go. So I want to see more than just 3-legged dog, high lunge, warrior 2. I want you to say, inhale, right leg up, 3-legged downward dog, step to the top of your mat, high lunge, open up, warrior 2, take 3 breaths. Okay.
Perfect.
Remember what we
Annalise just did a very good breathing technique. I think we should all just oh, you're gonna be okay.
Don't panic. I know there's a lot of questions. Can I get through all of the notes I've made and then see if there's questions, because the chances are I might answer them as I go along. Okay. So I'm going to paint you guys a picture here. You've now got a friend coming over to your house. They are set up on their mat. You are prepared, memorized your sequence, calm, confident, in control, feeling like a badass, ready to go. Okay. Don't worry if you're nervous. 99.9% of you will be nervous. That's okay. I still get nervous when I teach sometimes. So don't worry about nerves. Find a way that you can ground yourself, okay? If that means if you get a little bit panicky, you get a bit frantic, teachers do this all the time, come into a child's pose, take 5 breaths there. And then you take 5 breaths and then you bring them up into down dog and you continue from there, okay? That's completely fine. If you feel like you forget something, downward dog, child's pose, stand in Tadasana. Those are your 3 resting poses. Don't keep them there for a minute, just 5 breaths. Think on your feet. Being a teacher is all about thinking on your feet, okay? So you guys have the chance to practice, but in the moment, if something happens and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot the left side, please don't go and re-record until midnight. You're going to send me your video and say, Taryn, I noticed I forgot the left side, but I picked it up, okay? And that's okay. When you send your video to me, I want you to send a little bit of a reflection, because if I can see that you're aware of certain things, then that's fine. That's all part of teaching. It's not expected to be perfect, but if you're aware of things you want to work on, that's all that really matters, okay? You are going to stand in front of your students so that they can see you, all right? So that means if your student's mat is like this, your mat can be like that. So you're making like a T shape. You're standing in front of them and you're teaching the class using articulate, beautiful, direct cues, and you're not demonstrating. Okay, demonstrating means I am on the mat doing the class with you, doing the poses with you. The reason why we don't want you to demonstrate is because when you're demonstrating, you're not watching your student. If you're in a downward dog, I can tell you now, you're not sitting and observing and watching. The only time you can demonstrate is if you're doing hands. So let's say you are teaching arms up, you're standing in front of the student, you can say arms up, open up, warrior 2, eagle arm. So you can use your arms, because we quite, if you use your hands to talk, you can stand and use your hands. If you've instructed something and your student looks at you and you say, no, arms come out to the side. Yes, sorry, you're in a warrior 2, move your feet, whatever your cues may be. And you see they're still not getting it. You've tried to cue it and they're just not cracking, like it's not working. Then you can demo in front of them and say, warrior 2 looks like this, especially if you're teaching beginners. But I want you to then demonstrate it the first time around that they do that pose, not every single time. It's a very fine line between practicing with your student and teaching your students. And what we want you guys to build on is your observational skills and be able to stand in front of the group, and you guys will notice when you're not demoing, your cues are so much better. They're so much clearer. They have to be descriptive. And I can tell you now, it is such a good skill to have as a teacher, because it means regardless of what's happening, your cues are there. Okay. If you get injured, if you sore, if you walking around the room because you got 85 people in class, your cues are there. All right. And that's the most important. And it's the key with cueing is to really, really keep it simple. Remember, we spoke about highlighting 1 or 2 major things in a pose. We're not cueing massive things. This is a vinyasa flow. It keeps moving. So we're not spending a lot of time saying, okay, warrior 1. Okay, your back foot's about 30 degrees. Okay, turn your front one to the front, bend your right knee, arms up, no high. You're just going to say, step to the front of your mat, ground your back heel, warrior 1. Open up arms to the side, warrior 2. No, adjust your back foot slightly. Cool, straighten right leg, triangle pose. It really is quite short and you can use 1 or 2 cues there, all right? Sometimes the cue is take a few breaths here. Notice what the pose feels like. Does your left leg feel different to your right leg? Is that fine? And it really is cueing instructions. We don't have to add too much in there. Obviously, the more you teach, the more you get comfortable with adding extra things in, especially more for longer hold classes. So that's the key with cueing, right? Additional 2 notes that I pick up with teachers when they cue, and this is, it's not that it's right, it's not that it's wrong. We all do it sometimes. I do it all the time, is that when we start practicing our sequences a lot, we start to like sing our cues. So maybe you guys will recognize teachers doing this, going inhale, arms up, and exhale, forward fold. And it's fine. If that's your personality, because a lot of teachers, that is who they are. And if that's coming from an authentic space, that's fine. But sometimes because the sequence is so familiar to us, we get into like a little rhythm and exhale. Okay, so if you find yourself doing that, just make a little note of it. just if you watch your video back and you go, oh my gosh, Taryn, I didn't even know I sing my cues, you can just say, Taryn, here's my video. I noticed I sing my cues. I'm going to work on that. That's completely fine. All right. And then the second thing is sometimes we preempt our cues. So we say, now we're going to step to the top of the mat. All right, I'd like you to. Now you're gonna. Next up we have. So we end up, yeah, Sinead's like, that's me. It happens all the time, and you'll notice as a teacher you get into bad habits. So I sometimes do that too, but then there's a little voice in the back of my mind going, don't do that, because what it sounds like to the students, sometimes they're not really listening because they're so focused on what they're doing, but it sounds like, okay, you're going to lift your right leg up, you're going to step your right foot between your hands, you're going to lift your arms up, and it's not even you're going to, it's you're gonna. That's always what it's like. So the key thing for that, and even if it helps you to write out your cues, is to say right leg up, step right foot forward. So it sounds kind of drill sergeant-y, but it's direct, and it's telling them what they need to do, where they need to go, and it sets a good foundation for you to be able to instruct bodies. All right, because this teaching practical is all about, can I instruct students to move their bodies in certain ways? Okay, right. In being direct, we kind of take out all the fluff. So, and this is, you'll notice it when you watch your videos back, but sometimes we create little fillers. We go, okay, beautiful, beautiful, that's nice, okay, beautiful, but we tend to use them as crutches. All right, so that's kind of some things that we tend to do. And then the last thing I want to say is, because you guys have anatomy on your brain at the moment, but to kind of stay away from anatomical cues. Students probably have no idea what you're talking about, so we're not going to say retract your shoulder blades towards one another and then exhale, lower down, let your humerus scrape the side of your no, just whatever the case, just clear and it's fine. Externally rotate your thigh. They don't know what that means. And sometimes when we use those cues, we're not often right. Sometimes we say funny things as teachers. You guys would have known. That's why we sometimes end up where we are. We say funny things that make sense to us, but they don't really make sense. So anatomical cues, so much easier to just stay away from them when you're teaching your students. If you're in a workshop and you're getting down into the nitty-gritty anatomy and you want to know and break it down, that's a different story. I'm speaking about a general mainstream class when we're cueing. Okay. Gotcha with regards to cues. Got you guys with regards to demo. All right. So you're standing in the front of your student. They're doing a yoga class. You are presenting the class to them for 30 minutes using brilliant cueing and no demonstration. That's the requirement. All right. Any questions at this point before I get into the technicalities? Yes, Matt.
Yeah, Taryn, so you mentioned where the mats are, but the actual camera angle for you, is that important? Like, where do you want it filmed from? Is it meant to be just on us, or the whole situation?
Yeah, I would like to see, I need to see you. Okay, that's point number one. It really depends on the space you guys are working with. I don't mind if you record on your phone. I don't mind if you record via Zoom, as long as I can hear you and I can see you. So quality and cinematography, it's not an issue for me. I just need to be able to see and hear. So I reckon the best way to set up, if using a phone or laptop, is to put it like a little bit far away where you can see the layout, but just do a bit of a sound check to see that I can hear you. I don't need it to be loud. I just need to hear what you're saying. And sometimes what happens when we stand a bit further, we need to project and talk a bit louder. So do a little bit of a tester just to see what that's like. When you record on your phone, generally the quality is a lot higher because our phones are actually incredible. So the size of the file ends up being ginormous. And we've had issues in the previous trainings. People with iPhones ran out of memory, ran out of space. And so those are the kind of technical issues that you might come across. My recommendation would be is to use something like Zoom. You can do it on your free account. You can set it up there. You don't even need to have another person on it. in order to record. All right, it saves it to your computer. It naturally compresses it slightly so you're not sitting with a gigantic file. So that would be a way to go. But you can definitely use your phone. So I would like to see you first and foremost, just so that I can see that you're not demoing or like crying in a corner or something like that. But I also need to, if I can see your student, that's also helpful because I can see whether you're observing them or whether they're following your cues, but just reassure them I'm not looking at them. Okay. When it comes to teaching your, you can't dub over because I'll know you just sitting there with your notes in front of you. That's why teachers teach that way because, sure. That's, yeah, you guys, this is why you did mindfulness and meditation before this session. No, it wasn't strategic at all. It just happened that way. So what I also want to say is because you guys have maybe beginner students, maybe someone that's never done yoga before, you might need to spend a bit of time showing them the pose. So if you can do a little run through with them, they're not going to suddenly learn yoga in the space of an hour. I get that. But to have some sort of familiarity with the poses, it does help. Keep in mind that the vinyasa style that these sequences are designed for, that this training is in, is that it does have similar, it does have a movement component. So it does keep flowing. So we don't really want to, especially when teaching beginners, and this isn't just for the practical, this is just for life. We don't really want to cue and adjust and not even adjust, verbally adjust everything that needs to be adjusted in their pose. All right. It's fine if their shape doesn't look how it looks in your manual or how Laura would mark you in your pose reviews. Okay. Let it go. It's okay. All right. If you say extend your arms up and they actually bent like this, it's okay. Let it go. Especially when you start teaching students, there's so much that they're focusing on. There's so much to remember. If you're giving them a million cues, it's just a wasted time and space. So to focus in on just one or two things to keep the flow of the class going, to teach them something about their body, it takes time. Okay, so don't be too frantic about adjusting or correcting everything. Rather try to find that balance between cueing one or two things, but keeping the flow of the class going. Okay. I'm going to get into this chat is like rolling. I haven't read a single thing. So that is where we are with teaching your students. Okay. Now let's say we're at the point where we have a video. Okay. You've got it in an MP4 format. It's wonderful. You can hear you, you can see you, you're happy because you guys have all done a great job. You are going to take that video and you're going to upload it onto Google Drive. Okay, the reason I say Google Drive is because my Dropbox is full and everyone's Dropbox is full. Okay, what's wrong, Elaine?
Can't we do WeTransfer? It's so much quicker.
The problem with WeTransfer is that I then get 18 videos that I need to download and I don't get to watch them in time. With Google Drive, and also then my internet becomes really slow. With Google Drive, I watch it on Google Drive. I don't download it. If you prefer YouTube, you can upload it to YouTube. You can make the video private. You can publish it privately, which means only I get to see the link. Okay, YouTube or Google Drive is fine because I don't need to download the video. I can just watch it. Okay, so you're going to upload it there. If your video is more than 1 gigabyte, we're going to have a little bit of an issue because it's probably going to take quite long for you to upload. If you're recording on Zoom, it's not an issue. So Catherine has so lovely shown you guys how you can compress your video. And if you have never done this before, it's a great skill. It's going to help you in your life. It's just going to compress the video so I don't lose quality or sound, but it makes the video size a lot smaller. I'm going to do that with you guys right now on Handbrake. Okay. All right.
What?
I'm going to show you now. It's not a problem. Okay. So your video. Okay. Let's navigate Handbrake. Okay. You've got your video. If your video is, I would like it to be 500 megs or less. It should be, it'll be fine. because also depending on your Wi-Fi, we all have different ones, but sometimes it spends like 3-4 hours for people to upload depending on the kind of Wi-Fi speed they have. If you know you've got massive, incredible Wi-Fi speed, then don't worry about it. It never really makes an impact on YouTube for me. It's just on Google Drive. Sometimes the size of the video can be a bit of an issue. Okay. So are we ready to navigate Handbrake? Sorry, Clara, did you have a question?
Yes. I don't really live in a city where I know someone that I can see. So can I do an online video where someone else is online as well?
Yes. So if it's like impossible for you to get someone where are you at the moment?
Well, I'm in Denmark.
You guys still in like
very northern?
Yeah, are you still in like a lockdown?
Well, we're not really in a lockdown, but it's far away from, like, the only one here is my boyfriend, and he's a bit injured, so we can't really use him.
That's fine.
And I don't really know anyone up here.
That's perfectly fine. So in this case, I'm gonna allow it for Clara, but I don't want everyone to opt for that because it's also hard. It's going to be harder for Clara to teach someone online because she's not going to be in the physical space with them. So as much as you can to get a person is going to be helpful. So Clara, you'll just do the same where you'll just have 2 videos on the screen. And I just want you to see that if you can stand or present, set it up in a way that you can see their screen. Maybe we'll chat on WhatsApp and we'll navigate the best way to set that up, because that also brings a couple of extra technicality things. So I'll chat to you directly on that. For the others, if you have any major issues, just WhatsApp me, but hopefully we can just find one human to teach. Yes, Elaine.
So just in terms of the queuing, I mean, I've looked at the file and I've seen like the script. I haven't looked at it too detailed. And it kind of looked shorthandish, and I didn't make much sense of it. So must we stick to that verbatim? Must we make our own one? That's just my question there.
What, with the cues or with the sequence?
With the verbal. Both actually.
Yeah, so the sequence is set. That's the sequence that you guys will teach. The words that you use to get the students there is going to be your own words. You don't have to go listen to Laura's and take her cues as is. However, you will find they will be pretty similar. So all we're doing, if we're taking them into 3-legged dog, we're just telling them to lift their leg up, telling them to step their leg forward. Whatever else you weave in, that's your personality will come. So the way that you say things, the way you describe things, I'm not looking at criteria as to who you are as a teacher. This is a nice opportunity for you guys to find who you are as a teacher. How do I say things? How do I explain it? How do I connect with my students? That personality is all going to come up and you're going to find your own voice. But the sequence as such is pretty much, that is what it is. The script of what you say is yours, as long as it makes sense and it gets the student to where they need to be.
Okay, and obviously we can't have any like little pieces of paper to remind us what comes next.
So no notes. For the sole purpose of, have you guys ever been to a class where a teacher was using notes? I have once. Wasn't my favorite experience because I promise you guys now that when the notes are there, you'll use them. When they're not there, you learn to think on your feet, all right? So I've seen with other students is when the notes are there, you check them way more than you need to. So it's kind of like having a crutch, all right? So I would, not that this would be the case, I'm fine if you forget something and you think on your feet and you wing it and you find your way back to the sequence, fine, okay? It's not a problem. You're gonna do that when you go out there and teach anyway. You do have to be comfortable with thinking on your feet and finding your way back. I've been in a class where I went, I can't remember what we were doing next, but let's come back to a down dog. We're gonna do it on the left side and we'll find our way there. And it's okay. You guys are also only human, all right? It's not your best moment as a teacher, but it has happened. And when you think on your feet and you move from there, it builds your own confidence in yourself that you can think in the moment. You can just find your way back. Remember, your students don't know the sequence. I know the sequence, so I know whether you've mixed one or two things around, or you've said something a little funny, 99.9% of the time, the students have no idea and they haven't picked it up at all. All right. So don't be concerned. They're not worried about you. They're just wondering how they're going to get through this class. Okay. So that's at least an ease. Okay. Let's quickly navigate through handbrake, and then we're going to wrap it up, and I'm just going to highlight the key points so we can make notes and be all good. Okay. Sharing my screen. All right, so you're going to go into a website called Handbrake, like literally the handbrake of my car, handbrake.fr. If you guys do anything online, this is actually an awesome resource. I use it all the time. But when you download it, it's free. There's no issues with it. I've had it on my computer. It hasn't given me any problems before. It looks like a little pineapple. So can you guys see the bottom of my screen, my tab, or do you only see the, anyway, it's a cocktail and a pineapple. That's the icon of it. Okay. It's actually quite funny. So you guys can all see, this is what Handbrake looks like. It's super duper simple, I promise. Okay. You're going to open the app. At the top there, it says open source. Make notes. Okay. Click open source. Okay. Now I'm here in my open source. I'm going to take this lovely, okay, this is a picture, but I've got Monique's videos here. Let's do one of Monique's videos. Okay. Okay, I've taken my video, which is not Monique. It's actually you guys doing your teaching practical. And then do you see on the left here, it says web optimized. Okay, there's a little block there. You're going to click the block that says web optimized. Okay. Under here on the preset, it shows that this video was taken in 1080. If you took it on your phone, I would even bring it down a little bit more than that. Okay. So web optimized is just going to compress it quite a bit so that it's friendly for YouTube and Google Drive. You can, if you're already overwhelmed at this point, just do this. You can take it even, compress it even more by clicking this down arrow. If you hover over general, that is what it is right now. It's bolded, fast, 1080p 30. I'm going to take it down 1, and that's all I'm going to do. That's it. That's done. Okay. If you did that, it just unselects web optimized. So just select web optimized again. I've changed 2 things. I've taken down the resolution slightly, and then I've also clicked web optimized. Okay. Then all I do is I click start. Okay. I press start, and then voila. This app is going to compress it for me, and it's going to take a big file and increase it to like 30% of its size. Okay. One little important thing to note at the bottom here, it says save as, and it's showing me that it's saved in my movies. So if you cannot find it, go back here and look at the bottom, where did it save my video? And you should be able to find it there. You can even rename it to just say Taryn Practical Smaller, or whatever the case may be. Okay. It'll start. It might take us some time to load. When it's finished, you'll get a little ping notification, and it will say, put your cocktail down, your video's ready. And then you can have your video there. So it's actually pretty fun, guys. It's kind of a cute little thing to do. So that is how to compress your video. Okay. Are we all with us? Okay, it should be really, really simple and easy. And then you're going to upload it to Google Drive or to YouTube. You're going to share that link with me. You're going to type me a beautiful little love note, and it's going to say, hey, Taryn, here's my video practical. These are the things that I struggled with that I want to work on, i.e. I noticed I was saying funny cues. I noticed I forgot the left side. I feel like I can be a little bit more calm. I need to work on my nerves. And then you're going to say, but you know what? I'm really proud of myself. And you're going to give myself some positives. You're going to say, I'm remembered my sequence. My student felt great. And I felt like even though I was nervous, I could get through it. So give me like 1 or 2 little things that you notice that were a little bit difficult. And this kind of exercise, I would highly recommend that you continue doing that as a teacher, because there'll be situations where something will go funny in a class and you'll think, I wonder why my students didn't get that. I was trying to cue it like this and they didn't understand what was confusing about it. How can I cue that better in the future? Okay, so it's a bit of a self-reflection that'll help you. You're going to send that through to me. I'm going to watch it. I'm either going to say, cool, I'm happy with your teaching, well done, or I'm going to say, I want to see a little bit more from you. Can you either do the whole video again, or can you do a snippet of the video due then? But I'm hoping that we can ignore that second half. But if it happens, it's not the end of the world, because you guys will already notice from video 1 to, if you did video 2, how much you'll improve. I can tell you now, in the space of a week, you'll actually at the end of this course watch your teaching practical video back and you'll be like, well, different. Okay. Are we okay? Elaine, yes.
Look, I mean, I only have been seeing 2 people this whole time in the last year because of COVID and everything, because I'm high risk. So one of them I'm probably not going to be able to see in this time period, and I'm hoping the other one I can. But I'm just worried that if I can't do that, you know, I might have to find someone random, and I don't know what their yoga experience will be. So what I'm just worried about is if I have to demo someone who's got absolutely no yoga, well, if I have to cue someone who's got no yoga background whatsoever, and if you know, like, are you allowed to demo at all? Like, if you just have to show a shape, or do you have to stand still the whole time?
So to answer the question short, eventually we want you guys to teach with no demonstration at all. However, when you're teaching beginners, when you're teaching someone new for the first time, sometimes that's just not possible. The only time I want to see you demonstrate if I see your student needs it. However, you don't need to demonstrate downward dog 10 times. You can, if they look at you, and that's a good cue when your student goes, huh? And then you say, it looks like this. And then you show them, and then you get up, and then you observe them in the pose, and then you move on from there, okay? Sometimes students will look at you because they're not sure whether they're doing the right thing or not, but actually they are. So if they say, they're in downward dog and you say, lift your right leg up, and they look at you, then you say, lift your right leg up, because you don't need to demonstrate how to do that, okay? But they will. I'm telling you now, because students will do that. So you just need to notice, is it a tricky enough pose, especially for those, sometimes you got a bit of an interesting transition in there. Okay, so sometimes you're going to have to show them. Other times, try a cue first, especially if it's something simple. Okay, if you guys are having any issues with finding people, recording, just chat to me on WhatsApp tomorrow. Let's navigate that and figure out what's the best. But having someone then teaching them is the best route. It's going to be the best for you. Madly?
Just for interest's sake, I mean, if somebody is really that new and they're looking for a cue and you're quickly showing them and they get it right, can you say, yes, that's right? Because I know we said we shouldn't say that's beautiful or lovely or
no, we want to,
yeah, they are doing the right thing, especially if they're so lost. Is that okay?
Please praise your students. They are going to do a great job. So by beautiful, lovely, I don't mean don't tell them they're beautiful and lovely. Maybe not in that way. Then it sounds a bit weird. Boundaries for sure. But you can definitely give praise, but sometimes we use them as fillers. So sometimes we go, okay, step to the top of the mat, warrior 1. Oh, beautiful. Okay, wonderful, beautiful, guys. Warrior 2, beautiful. You know, let's not overdo it. But if a student, especially when they do their peak pose, if they get the peak pose, then say, cool, well done, or that was great. Praise your students. It will, not in a way that's inauthentic, just praise them when it's genuine. And it's also really encouraging for students. You guys will know, Laura will say to you like, oh, nice. Yeah, Madly, that looks good. Okay, cool. Yeah, Matt, right leg straight. Yeah, good. Well done. That's fine. Do that.
Now that we're talking about it, I think now it's also very important not to just praise one student, because even if they like less prone to know the yoga positions, that you can't just say, yes, that's nice, Madly, nice. Because then when you're teaching, you just talking to one person and it should be a whole class. That's just
And
what
look,
I'm thinking.
you'll never be able to praise every single student in every class, and we shouldn't have to, right? It's not about being fair and even, and it's not about praising the student whose pose looks the best. It's not like, oh great, you did a handstand. Sometimes it's like, great, I noticed last week you were struggling to lift your leg up. Now look, now you did it seamlessly. Well done, that looks good. So we're kind of changing the narrative that we're not praising students because they've done it great. It's, you know, they've effort, or they've learned the pose, or there's focus. So I used to be in a studio where the teacher would almost praise everyone, and I kind of feel like there's no need to do it, but when it feels right, you'll do it instinctively. Don't think about it. It'll happen naturally. And if you're not the kind of person that praises, then don't. You also, like, a big thing with teaching is that you need to be you, right? So if you say things in a certain way, or if sometimes, even with Catherine and even Laura, sometimes we can be a bit sarcastic and we might make a joke that no one laughs or whatever the case may be, that is who you are. And so you'll teach like that. Laura might want to yell at one of her students in a nice way, and that's who she is. Where other teachers are a lot more calmer. You might have a teacher who's got a completely different tone and nature, and that's 100% fine. Be you, be who you are, because that's going to make you unique as a teacher.
Yeah, that's very true, because people go to classes specifically because they like the
They
style.
love you.
That's
They're going to love you guys, man. Okay, Sinead.
Sorry, Taryn, I see there's an advanced section in the sequences, and I'm not going to do it, but that's like if you can add.
I'm just going to quickly open up your sequences just so that I can check which sequence are you doing. They're in all the sequences, so I don't even need an example for you. So your advanced section falls outside of the red line, so you're not going to teach it. You're not going to do it. Yeah. That's also what's really nice is you guys are teaching a portion of the sequence. You can look at how this section falls into the greater scheme of things. You guys know these classes. You're generally going to finish with your peak pose, and then you're going to say come into a child's pose, and then you are going to say thank you to the person who demoed. They are the real troopers because they're going to sit there with you and do these classes. So yeah, so only teach that section, and just make sure when you're teaching the sequences that you do both sides. Don't teach just the left side and send me a video of 15 minutes. It's left, right, left, right. Okay. So if you have any uncertainties, check with me, check on the website, the sequence is there. Okay. We've only got 15 minutes. My poor dog is yelling at me for dinner. So let's highlight the important things. Okay. So in the greater scheme, I know we've spoken about a lot and suggestions and things like that. Michaela, you said I made your day, but I didn't know why. But you asked earlier if I could send you a video. I saw it there on the chat. I'm not going to do that because I want to see you. All right. So sometimes we feel like and I understand your reasoning. I am the same student. I'm like, okay, can I see what is the standard here? So I know I'm doing the right thing. You guys are doing the right thing. It's completely fine. If, I want to say you can't watch Laura's videos because she's demoing that because she needs to show you what the poses are. This is what you're going to do, and I'm going to tell you step by step, okay? And 95% of the time, you're going to be fine. Whatever you're doing is okay. But if I show you someone else, you can end up doing things that they do, and I don't want you to do that. Okay, so you're going to look at your sequence, not tonight, because you're going to practice your meditation and mindfulness techniques that Monique showed you. And then tomorrow, you're going to take out your sequence, you're going to read through it, practice your sequence, like just that little snippet, get it into your body, become familiar with the transitions. You can even teach yourself. You can be in a down dog and say, inhale, high lunge, and teach yourself so that you can start becoming familiar between movements and cues, all right? Then you're going to practice the sequence, you're going to memorize it, okay? It's not, I know memorizing is sometimes tricky, but it's kind of like keep thinking in the space of your body, relate it back to what movements you've done in your body. And then you're going to teach it. Okay. You're going to practice. Then you're going to get your lovely friend. They're going to set up on their mat. You're going to stand in front of them. You can introduce yourself if you want to, but because we're jumping in a little bit into the class, it's not a problem. And you're going to teach your class using cues, being calm and friendly and lovely, thinking on your feet and giving them a rest if they need a rest or if you need a rest, using none to as little demonstration as possible, and get them through until their peak pose. The peak pose, you can spend a little bit of time there. Like we said, we don't want to say, okay, crow pose, Malasana, if you have crow, you can do it. You can, at that point, demonstrate slightly. You can say, okay, put your elbows here. Maybe not, I mean, just what I always recommend with teachers is sometimes we demo and we're not warm, and then we go, oh, mermaid, and then, you know, we're not warmed and we're not ready for it. So either warm up before or, you know, spend some time with them. That's what's great about peak poses, that we can say, okay, look, your arm placement here, knees here. By the way, if you want to use blocks in your practice, use blocks, use a strap. That's fine. It's not essential, but if your student needs it, give it to them as an option. Okay. You're going to teach, get your beautiful video. It's going to be 30 minutes. It's going to be wonderful. You guys are all proud. You're going to take it. If it's small enough, under 500 megs, you don't have to compress, or you're going to take it, follow the steps on Handbrake, upload it to Google Drive or YouTube, send the link to me with a little write-up telling me how amazing you are. Okay. And that's that. And I also want to say, if you get asked to do a second one, it's not the end of the world. Maybe it just means you need a little bit more time. Maybe there's a little thing you need to work on. It's going to happen all the time anyway. Okay. So it doesn't always mean it's like bad or good. It's just about refining and continuing being better. This is all what it is. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help you. I promise. Should we tell them to inhale or exhale? You definitely can. It's not a requirement because sometimes it takes a little bit of practice. Some things, nice parts to practice your inhale and exhale is when you're doing that warm up, when you're doing cats and cows, or when you have repetitive movements. So inhale, leg goes back, exhale, knee to nose. Generally, the inhale comes with an extension or an opening. Exhale comes with a rounding, okay? It's kind of tricky to learn when to inhale or exhale because there's not criteria, but we've turned to found certain ways. So we usually inhale into a three-legged dog, exhale, step foot between hands. Inhale, high lunge, you can stay here, and then exhale, warrior two, all right? So you can take note of that. If you mix up in and exhale, it's not a problem. But generally inhale is a length and exhale is a rounding, all right? Sometimes we inhale into pose. Most of the time we inhale into the pose, especially when we're coming up to high lunge, but sometimes you exhale to warrior two. So teach it in a way that feels natural to you, and it will come with time. Okay. But if you want to challenge yourself, go for it. If it doesn't feel right, don't worry about it. Okay, are there any other questions? Can we use a subtitle generator for what? For your cues. If you upload it to YouTube, it'll do it naturally for you. So YouTube now has a subtitles thing. Okay, how are we feeling, guys? Are we doing okay? We're doing fine.
Yeah, the shock is worn off.
Guys, it's fine. I honestly, I'm only saying this because I've done this so many times, and I promise you it's gonna be okay. Just keep reminding yourself that you have, guys, can I just She's running away from the camera. She's like, sorry, not for me. She's just jealous of the attention.
She must be hungry.
She is. I'm going to go there now. Okay, cool, guys. If you haven't sent me your pose analysis pose option, please send it through to me. I think I got most, but if you haven't, just let me know. Let me know tomorrow morning. It's fine. And then if there are any questions or things that come up, don't be afraid to ask. It's easier to clarify than to fix it later on. Okay, or easier just to know. You guys are going to do great. I'm really excited to see your practicals and have fun with it. This is your first time teaching. It's where you actually get to be yoga teachers. Cool. Go have a restful evening, practice some mindfulness, take some deep breaths, calm those nervous systems. And I will only see you guys. Oh, I'm actually only going to see you on your videos when I see your practice next week, Wednesday. Cool. The 4th is actually a Thursday, guys.
what time must it be in?
Not midnight, please. By 5 p.m. on Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday, 5 p.m. Otherwise, I start minusing marks. just rather get it done. If you can, use your weekend, use your time. Also, please don't re-record it 85 times until it's perfect. If it's completely horrible, you can, which it won't be, but you guys will think it is, then just, you can try, give it a few practice runs and then record it and then let it be. Okay. And in 2 a.m. I'm not going to be opening and checking my emails at 2 a.m. Matt. None of that. And don't worry, guys, I also watch every single one of your videos and I dream about yoga sequences. So it happens. Cool. Have a wonderful evening and I'll chat to you guys all soon. Have fun and enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye, guys.